إن الحمد لله تعالى نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا ومن يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Indeed, all praise is due to Allah. We praise and we seek refuge with Allah from the evil in our soul and from our sinful deeds. I declare that there is no God but Allah, and that His messenger is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Those who are guided by God, no one can misguide them. Those who are not guided by God, there is no guide for them. I want to welcome you to ISLEM, the Islamic Society Meeting American Muslims, an organization that was established to conduct da'wah in the United States of America. And I want to celebrate today that already this year we have given out 223 Qurans. Yes, that rocks. And this has been the busiest year we've had since we began in 2007. We've had more presentations at this time in the year than we've ever had since we started doing ISLEM. So we want to celebrate that with you. The first thing I want to do is recognize some people that are here today. They're not here for the first time, but they're visiting and they haven't been here for a while. So let's start with first Sarah. Sarah is a member of our family that moved away. Marriage took her away from us. And so Sarah and her mother Mary is with us, and Miriam and Adam. We're so happy to have you guys today. Welcome. Who from this side is here for the first time? Anybody that I need? Yes. Please introduce yourself. I caught you with your mouth full, didn't I? Isn't that just like a waiter? So this is Dina, right?
Nina.
Nina, all right. And Nina, how did you hear about the class?
From my cousin Rushda.
From Rushda. Okay, Rushda's out there doing missionary work. We appreciate it. Right. Good. Well, we're very happy to have you, and we hope that you'll continue to come and be with us. Are you visiting, or living alone?
Yeah, I just relocated from Virginia here.
So you relocated?
Yeah.
Oh, so that means we can expect you all the time, right? Great. No pressure intended. And of course, Lisa is a founding member of our group, and I hope she doesn't mind me putting her on the spot. It's a little late now, I guess. But Lisa helped us with our original group, and we're just so happy to have you today. Inshallah. And would you please introduce yourself?
My name is Rashid.
Rashid. And you came before, I know, but welcome back. And thank you, brother. Yasin's mom is here, and it's Yazin. I'm sorry, Yazin's mom is here. Loran. Very good. We're very happy to have you. Okay, and thank you for sharing your lovely son with us. Who is here for the first time on this side? Anybody? Would you please introduce yourself, brother?
My name is Imran.
Imran.
I'm here because of my daughter, Miriam.
Miriam. Okay. Alhamdulillah. Well, we're very happy to have you.
Glad to be here.
And brother, what are you doing? Bashir? And how did you hear about the class? Your brother. Alhamdulillah. So I like this brother's doing missionary work. Anybody else here for the first time?
Yes. That's my friend.
Oh, please introduce yourself. You're Sarah?
Sarah.
Welcome. We're very happy to have you. And so I know how you heard about the class. So.
You have to help me clean the tables this morning.
Oh, thank you for helping me to take this forward. That's just grand. That's wonderful. So let me call your attention to a few announcements this morning. The potluck will be on the 29th of March at 6 o'clock at St. Luke's United Methodist Church. Please, if you don't know how to RSVP or let us know that you're coming, please contact me soon. And usually she puts her phone, here it is right here. Please contact me soon and make sure that, because we like to know how many are coming and who's bringing what, so we know if we have sufficient food. So that's a great thing to do. Also, all of the classes that are taught here are uploaded to YouTube. Is that the right way to say it, young people?
YouTube and Facebook.
And Facebook. And so you can repeat the class see classes you've never seen before, but you have to get permission from Maysoon. And she's pretty easy in terms of getting permission to see the class. Okay, Angela. All right. So please contact Maysoon if you're interested. We also need some volunteers, and please see Maysoon about this, to look at previous classes and label those classes. In other words, to say this is the subject matter of this class predominantly, so that we can label them instead of them be on YouTube as a date. So if you're interested in that, raise your hand. Okay, here's one volunteer. Great.
You only have to listen to the first couple of minutes, because the announcer usually announces what the topic is about, and then just reply back to me in the Islamic Gmail, and I'll upload it into here.
Also, we have Arabic class at 1 o'clock following this class. For teachers, for you guys who are interested, please stay afterwards, and Sister Fatima will teach you Arabic upstairs. It is upstairs, right, Ariane?
Yes, in the next time.
Right, in the HIFS classroom.
Go out to the elevator, down the school, and feel that the door on the line.
Right. So also, it's actually the last door on the right, the HIFS room. Okay. The non-perishable items we're still collecting for local food banks. Unbroken cell phones. We take those and they're used for victims of domestic violence. And also empty ink cartridges and toners. We turn those in to raise money for the organization. Please be in prayer for Kathy. She's in room 2808 at Winter Park Memorial. As many of you know, she's been recovering from her previous surgery. This week she was making her bed, leaned over to make her bed. She's been doing it every day and broke the strongest vertebra in her back. So she will be going tomorrow, if I remember correctly, to have her back cemented, whatever that means. And be in prayer for Kathy. And if you can, go visit her. I know she would love to see any of us and love to have our angels. So as far as I know, I think I've hit all the announcements. Yes? I think it always has. Yes, she has always had back problems. Okay, any other announcements? Are there anything I missed out, left out? Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. So anybody want to share where this journey has taken us so far? We began Tafseer of Holy Quran. We've covered the 7 verses of Surah Al-Fatiha, and today we will begin on verse 24 of Surah Al-Baqarah, which is the 2nd chapter of the Holy Quran. And I believe we've been doing this, is it 5 weeks now?
Yeah.
Today's the 5th week. So just to give you an idea, 24 and 7 is 31. We've covered, it's taken us 5 weeks to cover 31 verses of the Holy Quran. So today we're going to begin with verse 24. That's where we left off. And I wanted to ask if I could, brother, would you recite verse 24 in Arabic for me? Yes. Sorry to put you on the spot, but chapter 2, verse 24. While he's looking it up, who would like to share what we've come, where we have come so far? What did you learn last week? Anybody, while the brothers looking it up?
The guidance which the Quran provides to man rests on 2 principles, which is Tawheed and the Rasulullah.
Risala, yeah, the prophethood. Okay, very good, excellent. What else? Anybody? And what that means, Tawheed, is about the oneness of God, the oneness of the Creator, that there's nothing comparable to the Creator. And Risalat is about the various prophets that came, 125 since the Prophet Adam, alayhi salam, 125,000 prophets. have come to bring people back to the worship of one God. So that's what that means. Anybody else want to share something they learned last week or in the last couple of weeks? Okay, brother, will you actually read verse 23 and 24? So, yes. Okay. You can come up here with me if you'd like.
Yeah,
Here.
front and center. You're next.
يا أيها الناس اعبدوا ربكم الذي خلقكم والذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون الذي جعل لكم الأرض فراشا والسماء بناء وأنزل من السماء ماء فأخرج به من الثمرات رزقا لكم فلا تجعلوا لله أندادا وأنتم تعلمون وإن كنتم في ريب مما نزلنا على عبدنا فأتوا بسورة من مثله وادعوا شهداءكم من دون الله إن كنتم صادقين فإن لم تفعلوا ولن تفعلوا فاتقوا النار التي وقودها الناس والحجارة أعدت للكافرين.
Okay. I want us to always read the Arabic if we can and then read the English, because every time Yunus recites the Holy Quran in Arabic, it touches my heart and it sets the stage for me to present in such a beautiful way. So thank you, brother. Jazakallah khairan again. So remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala presented this great challenge to mankind to produce just one verse or one surah like the Holy Quran. And He presented this to Arabs that prided themselves on being the greatest poets. So we know that at that time there were annual celebrations of poetry. And prior to the advent of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the greatest honor for an Arab at that time was to have their poetry stapled on the door of the Kaaba. So this challenge was made. And then the people were said, we were told in the Quran, of course, that this is a book wherein there is no rape, there's no doubt. And you cannot do this. They were told you cannot do it, but bring anybody you want to. Any helpers you want to, you will not be able to produce a book like this. And so here's the warning that comes. But if you do not, in other words, if you don't meet this challenge, if you're not able to bring these attendants, which you won't be able to do, and you will never be able to, then fear the fire whose fuel is men and stones, prepared for the disbelievers. So what is the meaning of men and stones here? Without looking, would anybody have any guess what it would be? No cheating. No looking at the side. Yes, Mom?
Instead of any other things, Allah is going to use us if we don't believe, and the stones, and He will prepare the fire in hell for those people who don't follow the Allah.
Exactly. Very good. That's part of it. Yes, Ibrahim. No, but that's a good thought. The men are literally us, meaning mankind, men and women. I know my students like me to say men and women all the time, except when it's stuff like this, they don't mind if I don't say women. But the stones, by the way, most scholars believe the stones are the idols. Remember that at this time there were 360 idols surrounding the Kaaba. And many of these idols were made out of stone. So a lot of the scholars say that the stones that will fuel the hellfire will be all of these idols. And some of them are already there, which you'll learn about today. So fuel is wood or similar substances used to start or feed a fire. And I love this analogy because the Native Americans that I worked with for 18 years in the prison setting, I wasn't an inmate, by the way, I was a chaplain. So I don't want you to think I'm on the loose or anything. So what they taught me is the difference between a spark and an ember. So Native Americans take a piece of flint, they put some straw in their hand, and they put a spark in this straw. And they blow on the spark, and they start a fire, and that becomes from a spark to an ember to a fire. And then they put that under the wood, and it builds a huge fire. So that old song, it only takes a spark to get a fire going, that's exactly right.
I didn't know that song.
You don't know that, but that's because you don't sing. So, all right. Sorry. I didn't mean to throw you under the bus. That wasn't fair. She was prohibited from singing in church when she grew up. One of 9 children, and they prohibited her from singing.
My voice was so bad.
She was not allowed to. She had to mime the song. So that helps you understand the context for which I'm speaking. Okay. So just to expand on this a little bit, in Surah 72 and verse 15, and as for the kasetun, which are the disbelievers who deviated from the straight path, they shall be firewood for hell. So this helps you understand that the disbelievers, this again reiterates the tafsir of this verse, that the disbelievers, remember it challenged, it gave us 3 kinds of people in the early part of Surah Al-Baqarah, remember? Who can remember what 3 people were? It was divided into 3 kinds of people in 2 parties. What kind were they?
Hypocrites.
Loud. Hypocrites.
Believers.
Believers, and what else?
Rejectors.
And rejectors. Very good, very good. Another verse in Surah 21 verse 98, certainly you disbelievers, and that which you are worshiping now besides Allah. What were they worshiping? Idols. What did I say the stones were? Idols. Are but the fuel for hell, and all of them will abide therein. The stones mentioned here are the giant, rotten, black, sulfuric stones that became the hottest when heated. This is another opinion. May Allah save us from the evil end. The scholars report that the stones mentioned are the idols and rivals that were worshipped instead of Allah. Just as Allah said in Surah 21:28, certainly you disbelievers, and that which you are worshipping now besides Allah are but fuel for the hell. So when we think about logs that build a fire, well, the logs that fuel the fire of hell, and this is sort of a hellfire and brimstones lecture today, very different from most of our lectures, but it is sort of that way. So may Allah give us help and make it inspirational for us. Somebody, yes, brother? I'm sorry.
Yes, somebody told me that the first idol worshiping came after he died.
Well, actually, that's not my understanding. The first idol worships came many years later. I'm not remembering which prophet it was that they came after, but it was not after Adam.
No,
It was Noah. Thank you, brother. Thank you very much. It was
they were different idols.
I didn't want to say without checking my references, but it was after Noah that idol worship ever came. All right.
There were 5 idols, not only 1.
Right, there were 5, yeah. And I've taught on that before, actually, but I just didn't want to say without having the proofs in front of me. All right. So, verse 24 again, prepared for the disbelievers. It appears most obvious that it refers to the fire that is fueled by men and stones, and it also may refer to the stones themselves. There is no contradiction between these 2 views because they are dependent upon each other. Prepared means it is kept and will surely touch those who disbelieve in Allah and His Messenger. Ibn Ishaq narrated that Muhammad said that Ikrama or Sa'id bin Jubayr said that Ibn Abbas said this referred to for those who embrace the disbelief. And so remember how in the first verses of Surah Al-Baqarah we talked about those who embrace the disbelief. So here these people are being warned again. So Allah is bringing another warning to these people. And what have you noticed from the time that we began the tafsir, or as my Christian friend would say, exegesis of Quran? What have you noticed? Allah over and over and over again does what to the people? He warns them. And He keeps reminding them of what He already reminded them. Have you noticed that? In such an eloquent and beautiful and very clear and precise way. Remember we talked about the precision of the Quran last week and how that it just zooms right in and says what it has to say and it doesn't beat around the bush. So for those who embrace disbelief that you disbelievers have embraced. So remember when we talked about the 8 categories of kuffar and all the different kinds of disbelief. Does everybody remember that was here? Yes? Okay. So there are many kinds of areas and categories where people fall into disbelief. So what this tells us, this fire that's being kept, because of the way the grammar, the syntax of that verse is, it tells us that Jahannam, that the hellfire actually exists now. So a lot of people think it's something that's suddenly going to surface later on. But it's actually already here. Okay? Many of the Imams of the Sunnah use this ayat to prove that the fire exists now. And this is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I have to look at this closely. U'iddat, is that right? U'iddat, okay? Prepared, meaning prepared and kept. There are many ahadith on this subject. For instance, the Prophet ﷺ said paradise and the fire had an argument. So because that's in past tense, what does that mean? They already existed. So they had an argument. Yes, brother? You got to speak up though, because the camera can't hear you. And when you're watching it on the computer, it looks like that I've passed out for a few minutes.
In Jahannam, there are, I believe, 3 levels of hell. 3 levels, right?
There's 7 levels of hell, to my knowledge. Yeah. 7 levels. All right. So, also the Prophet ﷺ said, the fire sought the permission of her Lord. She said, oh my Lord, some parts of me consume the other parts. Which, I got to stop here a minute, because I think this is something that Steven Spielberg could be inspired by. A fire that is so hot that actually some parts of it consumed other parts. Isn't that hard to comprehend? That's sort of mind-boggling, isn't it?
You're saying a fire burning